Welcome back to Retail Therapy. My name's Will DeFries. For all the regular Retail Therapy listeners out there, you know that Barrett is going to be out for, I guess, like the next month or so. Is that correct, Randy?
He said something. I think he said like 5-6 weeks. So yeah, maybe a month and a half.
This might just be the kickoff of Will's interview series.
Hey, I think the people are excited for it. A lot of comments on the YouTube and stuff. People are excited for this journey.
It's forcing me out of my comfort zone. I'm a little worried about it, but I think I'll be able to endure.
I think you'll do great.
I'll do great. If you're not sure what's going on, Barrett also hosts a podcast called Oysters, Clams, and Cockles that originally covered Game of Thrones, but they've since found success doing other shows, and with two of their most popular shows being in season right now, which are Severance and White Lotus. He just simply doesn't have a lot of time on his hands to do a ton of podcasting. And so I said it would be okay if he stepped away from the mic for about a month to get that done. Today we have a special guest in the studio with us. You're probably familiar with him if you are familiar with the zine that was put out from Sunday Scaries last year. Scenes of Note. Noted co-creator of the zine, James Tedesco. James, what up?
Dude, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's good to have you,
Finally
James.
talking zine.
Yeah, we probably should have had you on earlier, but it wasn't really something I thought about. But, you know, we made it happen.
We ride.
I think I can say that I don't think the zine would have never happened had James not approached me with the idea to do it. And so I thank you for that, James, because I've always thought it's fun to have like something physical from like brands that largely exist online these days. I think between, you know, just film photography, which we'll talk about for a little bit, and like vinyl, things like that. Like, I just think people like having something to hold on to these days.
Something tangible.
And so when you came to me with the idea, I was very in on it. James, have you ever listened to Retail Therapy?
Probably a couple times.
Okay.
Yeah, probably a couple times.
Who's your favorite baby girl? Do you have any favorite baby girls out there in the world?
We're
testing them
what
right
is
now.
Wow.
Baby girl? Is that like
Randy, hit the gong.
Yeah.
Well, I gotta wait to a baby girl's actually name before I can hit the gong.
I'm gonna go out on a limb. Is this like an Lordy type?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go. You go. You got the gong. You got the gong, James.
You got like
Congrats.
one of the top three baby girls. Yes.
Yep. Great work. You're kind of dressed a little lordy today. You have like
a
mechanic jacket on.
Dude, this is like
cigarette hat.
Yeah, cigarette company hat, and then
where's that jacket from?
Porter James Sports out of New Zealand. Bought this a couple years ago, and dude, I love it. It's sick. Yeah,
James is probably one of the more Retail Therapy coded guests we've had on Retail Therapy. Would you agree with that?
I'd agree.
He just doesn't know it yet.
He doesn't shop at Shein.
I mean,
I do not shop at Shein.
I woke up this morning to a DM from James of just the 7-minute video from Ame Leon Dor, which I have to say, I ain't watching all that, James. 7 minutes on
I did watch all
on some
of it.
shirt drops.
I did watch all of it.
Is it worth watching all 7 minutes?
Honestly, the music behind it kind of bangs. So yeah,
dude,
it's kind of worth it. But at the same time, just wait for pre-sale. We all know you're on that.
No, I think I'm off. Because I think you're only on if you have like a proven purchase history.
Yeah.
And when I was buying T-shirts from them, like staple blank T-shirts and things like that, I had a regular purchase history.
Yeah.
Then they changed the recipe and I'm out.
So funnily enough, on that note, I met this guy. I have another side gig and I work retail. But I met this guy yesterday and he and I were just talking fashion. He name dropped ALD. Cool, fine, whatever. And then he goes, yeah, my boy's the buyer for them.
That's a good gig to have.
Yeah. I was like, okay, expand. And he started telling me how he's like this punk rock dude out of Houston. And then he went over to Drake somehow. And because Drake's and ALD were working together or are working together, now he's over at ALD. Teddy poached him. And I was like, that's kind of sick. And he's like, yeah, he has like no affiliation to like fashion at all. He just started doing it. Which is kind of sick.
I think that's how
yeah.
I feel like that's how a lot of people operate these days.
Yeah,
They're like, no, I just like it. I like clothes. I'm going to get more into it.
For sure.
Because it's never been easier to do that.
Yeah.
I bought the dumbest product from that collaboration, from the original collaboration between Drake's and ALD.
Oh God, do I even want to know?
They had a Casentino wool basketball.
Okay.
Like life-size basketball. and my son had just been born, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get this as like
I'm
a
gonna
gift."
dunk on him with a Casentino wool
He
basketball.
now it's like it's a decorative piece.
Yeah.
But he
So
now
you're
just
not putting up jump shots with
no,
it?
he does now.
Okay.
And so
that's
it kind of makes me happy that it's actually getting use out of it, because the second I gave it to him and he didn't care, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. A baby doesn't care about
Yeah.
this.
valid.
Well, we got a lot to talk about, James.
Yes, we do.
We've got 2 zines in front of us. Before we do that, I want to speak to our friends over at Shopify. If you purchased a zine, or if you even think about purchasing a zine, you're going to be doing it through a Shopify hosted website. It's Sunday-Scaries.shop. I'll be honest, they just make it extremely easy to sell pretty much anything. And so when you sign up for Shopify, they make it very easy to get a template. You can just edit that template any way you like. You can add as many pages as you want, as many products, anything. They just make it so easy to create a website that is shoppable for your customer, that's easy for you to manage. And they do a lot of behind the scenes stuff for you too. Between third-party plugins that they have, between the tax information that they can give you, just anything that you need to know, they just make it very easy to accomplish. We use it for a reason. Go check them out, upgrade your business, and get the same checkout that we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/scaries, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/scaries to upgrade your selling today. Again, shopify.com/scaries. James, remind me, when did you even first pitch me on this? I know when we first sat down and had a beer and talked about it, but you had definitely pitched me on it before we sat down and had a beer last year.
You know, it's funny. I went back last night and I looked up like the exact text.
Mhm.
It was like on a Wednesday in the middle of May at like 1 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, I thought about it. Kind of tight. And I was like, sick. And like, that was the extent of the conversation.
But
And
we
then,
didn't get together till like the fall.
we didn't get together until early September.
Yeah.
And I think over the course of like the summer, you and I would come in here and just like shoot the shit with the guys or whatever. And you and I would just like make little comments to each other about it.
Mhm.
And then it eventually snowballed into a thing and where we're like, let's just sit down and like figure out what this would look like.
Well, it also helped that like when you first texted me in May,
Yeah.
like I hadn't like a lot of the photos that are in the zine hadn't even been taken yet. And so it was almost like a necessary
Mm-hmm.
waiting period, or like maybe, I don't even know if it was like motivating to go take them for the zine specifically, but like I was more motivated to go take film photos for some reason in general.
I was, because didn't you get your film camera specifically for the Masters with your like?
I had
you
a film camera
you
that I had
just
been
got it.
using that a listener had sent me, and unfortunately the viewfinder on that film camera was a little off, and so you kind of never knew where the photos were going to end up being. And so I wanted to get a new one before the Masters, just because you can bring a film camera or a digital camera on the grounds. And I was like, what a cool experience to be able to take photos of. So I went to a local camera shop and I ended up just buying a point and shoot. And because people will ask, it's the Nikon Light Touch Zoom 140 ED-AF. Again, Nikon Light Touch Zoom 140 ED-AF. And you have one of those too, right?
I have an Olympus Stylus Zoom 70. I bought that for $100 off of, I want to say like Poshmark or no, Etsy. I bought it off of Etsy from some dude in Houston. And it's like one of those things where I think I bought it a couple years ago. Like, Randy, I'm looking at you, like when we would go out,
Mhm.
just like drunkenly like take pictures. It's like,
Yeah.
it was like kind of a fun thing to bring out at the time, not thinking that I would ever like create a zine.
Yeah.
Right. Like it was one of those things where I spent $100 and then years later paying off dividends in other ways. But
yeah,
that's what I have. And then my mom actually just found like not a brand new, but clearly from like the mid 2000s, like Nikon F80, which is like, it's got a big aperture on it. I don't know how to use it. I'm excited to learn, but it's kind of intimidating at the same time. It's not just like a point and shoot.
My mom gave me a similar camera to that like a long time ago, right when people were taking the leap into digital cameras.
Yeah.
And so like, because it was a film camera, I was like not that interested in it. And we ended up selling it. And now I'm like kicking myself. I wish we hadn't done it.
No, I think about how my parents, like on family vacations and everything, like had a digital camera and I was obsessed with it, but I never like took pictures with it. I just thought it was cool. And I didn't even know that my mom had this like just really nice Nikon just like in the tuck.
Well,
Like,
why do you, I mean, is there any, like, I know you said you just got the camera. to like go out and take random pictures? Like, is there anything about film that you just like more than snapping with an iPhone or something?
No, I to be honest, I don't really know. Like, I think it was the more like it's way more intentional in my mind. Just going out and being like, okay, there's this thing that I want to capture, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And I'm capturing this specific moment in time. I think that it has way more intention behind it than just flipping out an iPhone and taking 1,000 pictures.
Yeah.
I think like, especially when you're traveling and everything, and we touched on this like in the zine itself, having that intention to slow down and like take a picture, at least for me, is like something that it forces me to do that. And I think having that perspective, especially traveling, is really nice. And so it's turned into this thing where having the film, being really selective about your shots, and then like going from there kind of lays the groundwork for like how I kind of not even approach a trip, but how I kind of like,
Well, like I like taking photos on vacation anyway. Like it's something it gets me out, it gets me walking around, it gets me doing stuff. Like I just like doing that anyway. And there's just something for me at least that's like extreme. One, there's a sense of relief when you get the film back. You're like,
totally,
okay.
totally.
It didn't get ruined.
I think
like
I
an
love the
X-ray machine
manual
or something.
nature of it. And then,
Well, it's just fun to like. You just see things from a different lens than what you normally do, like literally and figuratively. And so it's just cool to get photos back, relive those memories without like having flipped through them on your phone on the flight home or something.
Yeah. And I mean, that's all fine, like fun to do. And that's like my go-to on the plane move is just like flip through my camera roll. But like, I think actually, I have a question for you. What attracts you to film? Like, what is it about film that you like, whether it's like the manual nature of it, like I've kind of talked about, or is it like the actual like lighting that you get in film versus like an iPhone?
I like the nostalgia of it a lot. Like, I mean, just growing up in like the early 90s and stuff, and like, you know, just the 90s in general, like just the nostalgia of it. It's super gratifying to have a cool photo turn out, knowing that you didn't have to get a bunch of angles with your phone and like, it doesn't make me feel like I'm like a master of the craft or anything, but like there's something just gratifying being like, 100%. Oh, I took this really cool photo of this really cool thing that I'm excited to now have.
It's that feeling after the fact.
I also just think that like you can tell what a photo is taken with at this point. You can tell if it's film, you can tell if it's an iPhone or an Android versus a digital camera versus like a really nice digital camera. And it's not that I think like iPhone photos are tired, because I actually think that like in my ranking of formats, a nice digital camera is like, it just is like too polished and too nice.
I agree.
And so like, I almost prefer iPhone and film because they're just a little messier and a little more like relatable in a way, especially for like what I do on a daily basis. Like it's just a lot easier. And
I think it's also that thing of like, there's the trend, right? Like on like Instagram, like 2 years ago, you saw like hella people post like film photo dumps.
Yeah.
Right. That kind of thing. And now it's back to iPhone, and it's like a little bit messy or whatever it may be, or like hyper zoomed in on a particular focal point. And like that has its purpose. Like I love like the iPhone cameras because I love adjusting like the exposure and that kind of thing. And it's very fun to do like in the moment. In places that certainly don't kind of warrant a film photo.
Yeah.
But the film is like I just went to Mexico City. And Mexico City is one of those places. It's so special and so colorful that like getting the film back was like a holy shit kind of thing for me, because the exposure was just so perfect. And now I have like kind of those mental images of that first trip to Mexico City.
Yeah.
Right. And it just created just this whole entire aesthetic. I mean, I think that word's kind of overplayed, but this aesthetic to it that I think is really just really gratifying, because it's like I captured that. It's through my eyes, right?
There's also something about it for me that's like completely like hobby driven. It's like it's something that I can do that's an approachable hobby that still forces you to learn something new, whether it's shooting or whether it's editing, whatever it is. There's just still something that's like interesting about the process of it as opposed to just like shooting something on your phone and uploading
And we can
it.
get into kind of the zine stuff with this because I think they go hand in hand. What I was really skeptical about as we were going through the process was how the film itself would turn out in the end product.
Yeah.
Right. Like I wanted to make sure it all looked good because like last thing I want is like a pixelated image.
Yeah. No,
right?
yeah. As long
like in print, right?
Pixelation would have ripped my heart out.
Yeah.
But like I wasn't too worried because I've blown up a few of the photos that like even before we printed the zine off, I had printed a photo from Italy that I used in the zine and put it on my wall in like a huge, I mean, not huge, but large, like a large format version of it. And it looked good enough that I was like, okay, this is encouraging. It's also cool to see something that you did like just physical like that.
Anecdotally, you know what I've done is it's a really cheap way to do it. And I've gone to Michael's, gotten canvas paper, and there's like a smooth side and a rough side. And I got this off TikTok, so it's really like not my like original.
No, but
idea.
TikTok hacks are low key like the most efficient thing in the world.
I got a sick mat behind it, and all you do is you cut the canvas paper to printer size, and then you print it on the rough side, and you can kind of like fray the edges of the canvas, which is pretty cool. So in my house, I have the picture of the El Camino that's in volume 1. I think it's like page 40 something.
Yeah, you know better than me.
Yeah.
I think it's page 40.
Yeah, page 40.
39 and 40.
Yeah, Randy has it up on the screen. I have that picture blown up in my house and with frayed edges. And it's like now this thing that for me, I like the idea of like every trip I go on or every picture that I think is really special. I can print it out cheap, have it on a cool kind of piece of paper that adds a little bit of texture to it without sacrificing the image. And it's like, I'm a Californian, like that's cool to me.
Yeah.
Having that in my house. And it's like, I had somebody come over, a friend of mine come over and he was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, that's mine. Like,
yeah.
It's
no,
just
there's
like,
something there's something very gratifying about it. I mean, when it comes to the zine, like the theme that we had was really just seasons, nothing crazy.
Easy.
And it was like, it was almost a product of our circumstances. Like I had photos from winter, I had photos from spring, summer, and we had a good lineup of fall trips going that it was like, oh yeah, this could actually work out really well just to be like a total seasonal play.
Yeah. And to rewind a little bit, I think that first initial meeting, like you and I just kind of both came to that meeting and we had the idea of seasons like already established. And
well, we had brought like zines to the meeting and kind of looked through and had like a common shared vibe that we were striving for. Like it wasn't like I didn't know if the meeting that we had was going to go like it obviously went really well, but I was like, I can't tell if this is us going to be feeling out like whether it's feasible or us like actually riffing on ideas. And it was very natural just to start. And I think we just both had a good vision to start.
Totally.
Yeah. Let me see. I've got like a ton of questions on here for you. What did you enjoy about laying out the zine? You did so much of the layout, and then I made like minor tweaks just because I'm anal about stuff. But like I feel like you did so much of it.
It was really easy going off of the whole entire seasonal thing. So the seasonality made it easy.
Yeah.
We laid out all of the locations. Again, easy. Italy in the summer. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, of course.
Layout.
It makes sense, right? I think from there, when it comes to the individual pictures, it was very much this thing of just what fits, not what naturally fits together. And it's like, it's kind of like making a good cocktail, right? Like you get different parts of it all and you put it all together and it like a Negroni, right? Featured in the zine, right?
What page, James?
It's a good question.
No, don't look it up. I'll look it up. I was just testing you, hoping that you knew.
No, I don't have it memorized, but
page 20.
Page 20. And so it's this thing that all just kind of came together. And I think also too is it's up on the screen right now, but having the full page spreads helps a lot.
Yeah.
Kind of establish a tone. And so like looking at in the upper right hand corner, right? Like one picture of from the lake to inland to whatever town that is on Lake Como with the green, and that green kind of bleeds seamlessly into that like siloed image of that courtyard, right? Having those two kind of go together just looks visually pleasing.
I mean, there were a lot of
Right.
photos that I wanted to use that it was like, this doesn't really work.
Honestly,
like kind of just like a bummer.
Like there's a ton of like B-sides that we never got to, which I think is cool.
Well,
Like, the
like
clip
when
is
we
fully
originally talked
loaded.
about how many pages it would be, and we talked
Yeah.
like as much as like 80 or something, I was like, fuck, that's a lot. But then
Yeah.
once you start having multiple locations, multiple photos,
It fills up quick.
with an intentionally simple layout that we wanted, like it just it fills up very fast. And it was like, oh, now it actually feels limiting just to have 80 pages because we could
totally.
have more. And
Totally.
like, I mean, maybe. I don't think it needs to be more than 80 pages though. You know, like
Yeah.
I don't think people need that much, you know, unless we're offering something else besides photos.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty easy to select photos overall just based on what we had for our personal favorites. But as
Totally.
you started going through and laying it out, you did a really good job of identifying photos that I really liked. And I think there was only like one photo where I was like, no, I need to put this one in. I really want this one.
Yeah.
And I think I moved one being like, no, this needs prime time.
Yeah. I think it was very much having like that kind of that mutual understanding of like what we wanted in there. Less of like it needs to be in there and having kind of like the give and takes of it all, right? Like, of course, I have pictures from like California because all of California is mine. And then I also lost a roll in there, which is
The role that never was, man.
honestly. Yeah, I lost that over at a welcome dinner, like scenic welcome dinner.
Too many Negronis.
Martini.
Too many martinis.
Yeah, no, it was.
How do you take your
not great?
How do you take your martinis, James?
I like mine just with a twist, honestly.
Okay.
Gin? Yeah, gin martini.
Okay.
I'm not a vodka guy, notably, but gin martini with a twist. That's about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made Randy a martini once.
Yeah.
At your
At my
house. At your
At my
house.
house.
Yeah, your
And you
house.
spilled it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But Randy, how was that martini?
It was good. I'm just glad that the glass didn't break, considering.
Yeah.
it was a
I was trying to
Yeah.
make it. I was trying to make it extra bruised for you. I wanted you to have ice flex
That
in
was,
it, Randy.
that was at our birthday party, Michelle and I.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
fun. That was fun.
James, what's your favorite location in the zine? Like
Okay,
from
so
what you
specifically-
from what you shot.
Yeah.
Like which photos of yours are you like most psyched on?
Randy, scroll down. It's actually in here. The full page spread on the lower left. Yeah. So this is Miramar Beach.
Mhm.
You were actually going to go there.
Yeah, I'm gonna go there this year, but
Yeah.
I'm not. I was actually supposed to go there this weekend, and I'm not. So I'm probably gonna go there.
Page
This was
35.
this was really special for me because I've family. I'm from San Francisco, but I have family in Santa Barbara. My grandpa lived there, and my aunt and uncle lived there. My little brother went to college there, and so a lot of just familial ties.
Mhm.
I grew up on this beach. There's a house on. Can't see it in the image, but there's a house on the right-hand side. We rented that out for multiple summers and would be there for extended stays, and it's still there. So if like you and Sally go,
Mhm.
like that yellow house at the very first house is the one we stayed in. And being able there's a lot of kind of like emotional parts to it. So like that was the first time that I returned to Santa Barbara after my grandfather passed. And being there was like weird because it's just
We used to have a reason to go.
yeah. And
A fun reason.
Also bringing Michelle there, my girlfriend, who had only been to California once before, and I've told her about this beach, and bringing her there and being able to stop by and just be like, yeah, this is like a staple of my childhood.
Mhm.
Was like really special. And granted, we were just so hungover from the night before from the wedding that we were at. But it was really special to be there. And so I think there's a lot of like emotional like resonance to that picture. Also, it was like we were there. It was like there's this thing in film, like cinematography called the blue hour, where it's just after like golden hour. And there's like blue hues. And so we were there during the blue hour. And that is something like the light was just perfect. And it was just incredible. So like that picture, I hold a lot of like, I also printed it out and it's like, gonna frame it at some point. So I think that is easily my favorite location.
Yeah.
But I'm entirely biased. I think when it comes to actual pictures, I think you cooked with the Italy pictures.
I mean, my favorite from my selections were just probably Lake Como. Just because
of course.
I was so relieved that those, like, I felt like I had some really cool photos on the film when I was returning home. And getting them back, I was like so psyched on it. And I mean, there was one in particular. Randy's not gonna be able to bring it up.
Yeah.
It was if you have a zine, or if whatever, it's page 25. There's a photo that I took of this like old haunted villa with a ton of trees and mountains behind it. The water's just in it, and it's just like, for some reason, just the depth of the photo I thought was really cool, and that's the one that I had printed off that
I love
encouraged me about it.
Yeah.
But it was just cool because I ended up taking more film photos on that trip than I took photos with my iPhone. So I was like, man, I'm really betting a lot on this.
Totally.
But like, that's all I was just having fun with it. And so it was just pretty gratifying to actually have those turn out. But like, I
love the cover too.
Yeah.
The cover is like also one of my favorites.
What was funny, I took the cover photo solely because we had a guided boat that day. And so he just kind of took us around. We had talked to him about his business, and like we asked him like, well, so how do you promote yourself within, you know, whatever. And he said like, oh, my son runs our social media. We don't really have much. And I was like, well, let me take some photos of you to send your way.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up taking the photo of him leaving, and I was like, okay, I need to get a hold of him because like this photo's sweet. And I ended up getting the photos to him later, but when you selected this one for the cover, and I was like, oh yeah, that's perfect.
It just fit perfectly.
Yeah, it just worked out really well. Yeah. I don't know. I thought I was actually very proud of how my New York film turned out as well.
Yeah.
Because
we had simultaneous trips, and I think both of us were like, I was in California for like 2 weeks, and then you were in New York, and both of us were like, the zine at that point, because that was like October.
Well, it wasn't done yet.
It wasn't. No, it was like
we
probably like
there was
halfway done.
Well, there was actual pressure to like get good photos because it was like, well, we're like halfway done. We're kind of betting on like these 2 trips to work out. And I didn't even take that much film in New York, which concerned me. Like I returned back and I was like, I told you, I was like, I didn't take that much.
Which is okay. But like at the same time, it's like, I think when we were there, it's like that conscious thing of like, oh, am I shooting this for the zine or am I shooting this for, I guess that's a good question. Do you now that we're doing this?
No. Doesn't change anything.
No, like performance anxiety?
No, because like if I'm taking a trip somewhere and I'm traveling, I want to have good photos of that regardless.
100%.
And like, I have multiple reasons to have good photos of it just through the line of work. Like it's beneficial just to have cool photos, just to use randomly for things. It's good for newsletter purposes, good for zine purposes.
Totally.
And so like, I just like keeping a log of what I'm doing essentially. Like my mom, when I grew up, my mom kept a calendar like every single day, had single thing on it and stuff. And I feel like a lot of people these days just use their Photos app as their calendar. Like that's what I did, whatever. Yeah. But it's just kind of nice to have like cool reminders. And like when you're stoked on something that you did yourself, it's like, it just makes that reminder a little more sweet.
You know what the big missed opportunity was for me?
What?
When I look back on like, especially in volume 1, right? There's like a couple pictures of Copenhagen. I just dropped the ball on that. Like I you know what? It was like, I was new to it. I didn't know kind of like my perspective on things. And this is actually an interesting road to go down because like we were talking before we started recording and I was telling you about how I kind of like think about things. Mm-hmm. And I mean, all my friends know, Randy knows, I love movies. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a driving factor in how I kind of like present things when I shoot. And because I look at masters of their craft, cinematographers, and how they frame things. And of course, I'm like not that intentional with a point and shoot, but by watching movies, I study like lighting, and I study like, not actually study, but I look at it and I'm like, okay, that looks incredible.
You at least think about it during a movie and are
100%.
registering what's going
It's
on.
registering. And so like now being able to like turn around and take a photo and look at something and being like, oh my God, the light is hitting this particular thing, whatever it may be, perfectly. I need to take a picture of it. It's like, it's a cool way to kind of have a unique perspective in it. I said in the foreword too, I was never like an inherently creative person growing up. Like I was a fine writer. I think where a lot of my creativity kind of has manifested is like over the last like 3 to 4 years. But that's because I've really started diving headfirst into like what makes an expert shot a shot, like what makes something look good. And I think that's something that like I like really, really appreciate. And it's like, maybe that's like my final answer for your initial question of like why I love shooting on film is like the tiny details that go into it that make it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a risk.
Yeah.
It's a risk.
Yeah.
And iPhones aren't. I mean, like I don't really care when people over edit their photos or if people are like face tuning and like stuff like that. Like it doesn't really matter to me because it's like whatever, do your own thing. But like being able to there's just a sense of accomplishment, I think, when you can shoot something well without having to do a bunch of edits. And like, I just think that certain people are coded that way, that they like having that experience rather than just like.
Oh, I don't edit any of my photography.
See, I need to get better at editing some of my stuff because what I found is that like I have things that I don't shoot well, like indoors and stuff like that, and when lighting's off, and so I've developed like some tricks that have made things look a little better when the photo just didn't turn out well. Yeah. But like, I just need to get a little more consistent with it. And the reason I don't do a lot of editing is because usually the photos that turn out in like a stretch of photos are all because the lighting's already like perfect or good. And it kind of serves me well. And so like, I'll have a batch of photos that like, oh, this stretch of 20 photos all look great. The next 10 look like shit. Yeah. What can I do in order to make these other 10 look a little better? And like, I don't know. I don't care about editing that much. The thing I'm a stickler about more than anything is just the alignment of things. Yeah. If like I just need things to be just horizontal. Yeah. Like it's very straightforward for me. Yeah. If it's not horizontal, then I'm annoyed with it. Which you've probably learned.
There's nothing worse when you think you're lining up like a good shot or whatever, and it's just shit.
I know. I feel like I know now when it's going to be shit. Though. It's like I feel like I just know. I'm like, no, this isn't going to turn out. Yeah. Like if it does turn out, then I'll be lucky, but it's not going to.
On the opposite side, like me losing that roll of film, there's so much good shit on that. And I was like,
no, you can't.
Devastated.
You can't harp on that. You can't harp on that, James.
I know. You got to forget the bad games.
Well, what do we have in the pipeline? Because we've been working on volume 2.
Yep.
We've got some locations done.
We got a lot
what
done.
Locations
do we want to share? Like,
let me see. Let me pull up my zine to-dos.
Is there a theme that you guys are willing to disclose right now?
Kind of like
there is.
Yeah. Okay.
It's pretty firm in there, and I think it's one thing that's been interesting on volume 2 has been the fact that working off of like kind of the calendar, like summer, fall, winter was really easy. Mm-hmm. Frankly, it was a layup. It was the easiest thing we could have done. It wasn't hard. And finding a unique theme for volume 2 that isn't seasonal was difficult.
Well, you and I both had we both wanted to do something again, like somewhat soon after, because it just is fun. I mean,
and honestly, like we had enough from a couple trips, and in our backlog to say, okay, yeah, we can do this.
Yeah,
we can do this, right?
And so I don't know. It's just like I still have some things I want to shoot.
Yeah,
whether that happens or not, we'll see.
Well, I think to be transparent, the ultimate goal is to do a coffee table book. I
Yeah.
texted you like January 1st, and I was like, hey, it's like on like, I don't really do like yearly like to-dos or yearly like things like that. But I did this year, and on that list is do a coffee table book, because I
Yeah.
think that would be
Well, that's been like a goal. I've wanted to do that for a long time now, but I never really had an angle at doing it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was like doing a zine was almost like a necessary
Yeah.
prerequisite to like feel out the process and how it goes. I think for a long time I was kind of thinking like, oh, I'll wait for a publisher to come along and say something. And now I'm realizing like,
no.
I don't even think I'd want to go that route, because I mean, I've talked to a couple publishers and I'm like, okay, they give you an advance.
Yeah.
Then you're under their thumb for about a year.
Yep.
And then your book comes out about a year and a half later. And it's just
Yeah.
like, nah, it all sounds kind of miserable. Like, I don't think I have time in life to like, to deal with. I already kind of operate on
it's a
my
lot
own
of
schedule a
bullshit.
lot anyway.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know if I can do that. And,
Yeah.
and I finally had someone be like, why don't you just self-publish stuff? And I was like, you know what?
And this, I
Yeah.
think this, like from the very jump, has been, because I think you and I had talked about a coffee table book, like in our like kind of like anecdotal conversations over last summer, but it was very much a like, okay, how do we get there kind of thing?
Mhm.
And outside of doing everything from the manufacturing to the quality assurance to just building the zine itself, we've been quietly working on the side on wholesale,
Yeah.
especially like here in Austin. And some have worked, some haven't, but like you just got to keep pushing through.
Yeah.
And so eventually getting to a place where, like the other week, I reached out to like 25 wholesalers. Like only 2 got back to me, right? But like sick. Some great,
If you're a
like
wholesaler,
great brands, some great brands have like reached back out.
I mean,
Like that's cool. And so building ourselves up for success when we do want to do a coffee table book, I think is like, it's great because we have already tested it and proven it out with volume 1, volume 2, and whatever else comes down.
yeah.
It comes
Yeah.
out.
I mean, yeah, it's a weird, it's weird to like, and it's not even weird. It's just interesting to like weigh the self-publishing is something that actually feels pretty damn good. But I also think that getting a package in the mail one day with a book that you'd been working on for 2 years, you know, opening that and seeing this professionally wrapped, whatever, that would be pretty good too. But
but here's the thing, we can do that. And
no,
then
I know,
there's even more gratification.
Yeah,
for
it's
that.
like it's interesting.
I think
did you learn anything from doing the first edition?
I learned a lot. So, frankly, like I worked in marketing and partnerships, right? And so, like this world was completely new to me. And I guess not to talk about my story, but like I was at a point where I had gotten laid off. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was pretty lost, frankly. And by working on something like this, I just dove headfirst into it. And so working through
I know James.
Working through the pain points of like working with our manufacturer and like figuring out all the bullshit that on their side.
Yeah.
Right. There was
you
a
mean
lot
like
of
trying to do you mean like trying to align the spine and things like that, James?
4.5 hours on the phone. 4.5 hours and like till like 8:30 at night. And honestly, it was one of those things where it's just like you gotta kind of embrace it. So yeah, I learned a lot, but it was also like I just kind of trusted my gut on a lot of shit, which was nice, especially like on the layout and the actual zine itself. I think one thing that was a total risk that paid off was the quality of it. And that's a lot of feedback that I've gotten. And we can kind of talk about that too. But a lot of what people have said to me is like, dude, this is like professional. Like this is like great quality. I'm like, yeah, I just priced out like 8 different like manufacturers.
Well, we wanted to go a little thicker stock.
100%.
Like, I want someone to be happy to leave it out. Like, I do think that the nature of zines, like part of the reason I was down with like a quote unquote zine is because you can kind of get a little more wild with it. Like It doesn't need to be perfectly polished. It can have errors as far as I'm concerned. Like it's just a magazine.
Like a big lesson I've learned on all the kind of seasonal stuff, the seasonal like full page spreads that we've done. Hey, bump out that copy a little bit more.
We can't put
Just
them
a little bit more
in the middle anymore.
I know, can't do it. Can't
That's
do
okay.
it. Yep.
That's
Live and
okay,
you
though.
learn. Live and you learn.
Yeah, but like, I mean, overall, I'm very happy with how it, like the first edition turned out. The reception was good. We sold we've sold 90% of them.
Yeah.
Honestly, James, this is our best opportunity.
Yeah.
If you are a wholesaler out there, you want to get some from us, let us know. We only have like 80 left, but we can also easily order more of them. So
easily,
if you are interested in carrying this or volume 2, let us know, and we can make that happen for you. Just reach out.
Reach out to Will or I.
Today's episode is brought to you by Zocdoc. Why is it that when we need a new doctor, your first instinct is to post in the group chat, anyone know a good PCP or OBGYN? We're all guilty of doing it, but we all end up finding out that the recommendation is not in network or the office is too far from home. Enter Zocdoc. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click instantly to book an appointment. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 100,000 doctors across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, primary care to urgent care, and more. You can filter for doctors who take your insurance, are located nearby, and are even a good fit for any medical need that you may have. And also, with hundreds of verified patient reviews, you can find the type of care and support that you're looking for. Once you find the right doctor, you can see their actual appointment openings, choose a time slot that works for you, and click to instantly book a visit. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/scaries to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/scaries. Again, Zocdoc.com/scaries. Do you want to answer some Sunday questions for me, James?
First, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Can we talk travel quickly?
Sure.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Where do you want to go this year? Dream scenario, realistic scenario, safe scenario.
Dream scenario, we had originally tossed out doing the UK this summer because we thought we might have a wedding over there.
Okay.
The wedding might not be at the same time of year that we had originally thought. And so we're like, oh, that plan might not be as seamless as we originally thought. But I think both of us are kind of thinking about it if we can make it work schedule-wise, monetarily, whatever. And so I'm like, ideal dream scenario, go over to the UK for a week and like just do whatever.
Kick it.
Realistically, I don't really know like what type of trips I'm going to take this year. I know I'm going to be trying to travel for work. I know I'm going to be trying to travel to take some photos and stuff. I know we're going to go to Mexico at some point. We'll probably do California at some point. And outside of that, I am a little more open this year. And so I'm not really sure what direction we'll go in, but I would say dream scenario for me would probably be UK.
Yeah.
Just because.
Yeah.
I feel like every time Sally and I have gone together, it's almost been like we're just stopping by.
London,
we're just going
or are
through.
You going like not remote, but like just outside?
We'd go London, then we go north, and
Nice.
then I don't know how north we'd go, if it would just go to like the countryside, or if we'd go as far as Scotland, or there's been Ireland discussion, but like it would be one of those trips where we'd probably have like a stint in London and then a stint somewhere outside, just to have like 2 good stints somewhere and then return home, with kids and stuff. We've talked about bringing the kids, but I just worry about the young one flying and like just making it awful on him. Yeah. So we'll see. Let's see how it works out.
For me, the trips I have lined up right now are, I'm going to Marfa in 2 days, West Texas. Never been. Can't wait.
Get your driving boots on.
Yep. California, Lake Tahoe, going back home, that kind of thing, in May, which is going to be fun. I haven't been to Tahoe since I was in college.
Yeah.
And then I think probably Mexico for Christmas. My family does Christmas in Mexico pretty regularly, so doing that. But the dream, and Michelle and I have talked about this a lot, is, Randy, you'll like this. Maybe Japan in the fall.
Japan.
Figure it out.
Japan's going to escape me
Finance
for a few years, unfortunately.
Yeah. But my parents have talked about going, and honestly is like them talking about it and then seeing like that Escape ATX Instagram account being like there's $700 flights. I was like, yeah, it's kind of sick. And then now you add in like zine, coffee table book. That's pretty badass. And I think it would be just a sick trip. Also, like fashion and shopping and vintage and like all that is popping over there. Granted, I don't know like what the price points look
Randy,
like.
you're speaking to the choir right now, my friend.
It's very much popping over there.
Oh,
the price points are pretty decent.
Yeah.
You know? So
I think
exchange rate's really good right now, right?
Yeah. So I Japan's high on my list. Eventually, at some point, I want to do Patagonia. Bad. I'm you know what, more and more I'm like kind of swaying like away from Europe as it just gets overcrowded and that kind of thing.
It is crowded. I think a lot of people also just need to stop. I feel like so many people that are traveling to Europe need to just plan their trip one step further away from the tourist stuff, because it's easy to avoid if you just do more planning and get a little more ambitious.
100%.
And like honestly, because if you can get away from the touristy areas, you can also probably find better prices for things because you're not in the touristy areas. And it's like
100%.
But it's a very valid gripe about,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I know Barrett dealt with it in Spain. We didn't deal with it too much when we were in Italy because we were kind of just outside. Like, I mean, honestly, when we were the time we were in Italy was a big time when all the Italians were on vacation. So like nobody was kind of anywhere.
Yeah. And honestly, like going to Mexico City in November, it's got the Spanish influence, obviously, right? So the architecture is just uniquely Spanish. It feels like you're in a European city, but you're a 40-minute flight.
Oh yeah, it's easy.
It's so
easy. I do think that
awesome.
I could see that happening. We don't have any like set in stone plans, but I could see that occurring for us.
Yeah, it was
just
like
easy.
one of those. Granted, it was very unique, and that will be in volume 2. Like just to put that out there, but going to Mexico City, if I can swing another Mexico City trip, I will 100% do it.
Yeah, that's
cheap.
been on the list. It's so fast from Austin.
So fast. We flew out of San Antonio. It took longer to get to San Antonio than it did for us to get to Mexico City. It was great. It was great. And like the food, the bars, we went to a vinyl bar, which was sick. Yeah, dude, it was such a great experience, and I can't wait to go back. Anyway.
It needs to happen for me.
Yeah. I think I texted you there. I was like, this is like totally you.
Yeah, it's overdue. All right, James, I want to know how you spend your Sundays. We're going to spend the next 5 minutes with me just peppering you with questions. What's your ideal lazy Sunday outfit?
That's a good question. Honestly, vintage pair of like Adidas shorts, something loose. And then
E-waist that?
Not even e-waist. Like I have a pair of like Umbro shorts that I just love. Something like that. And then for me, I love a hoodie. I love a crew neck. Something like super cozy. And then or if it's cold out, I have like this ALD fleece that I've had for 6 years now. That's just totally beat to shit, but I love it. It's super soft, something like that. Something like super nonchalant.
What relaxes you on a busy Sunday?
Slowing it down in the evenings, having a TV show to watch, having a movie to watch, having a recipe that's like more involved, I think is like something I really am intentional about. I think those things kind of slowed the pace of play down for me, and have me going into the week a bit more focused than complete and hectic kind of schedule.
Well, speaking of television shows, do you have a go-to Sunday TV show or movie that you like to put on if you're really feeling the grief from the week?
No, typically, I mean, I watch a lot of TV, and so typically it's whatever HBO has going. So White Lotus now, then it'll be The Last of Us, which is my favorite story of all time.
You play the video game?
Yeah, I have it tattooed.
I heard it's emotional.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Scared to get into it.
Did you watch season 1?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Knowing you, I don't know if you'd like it, but
too scary for you.
Oh,
yeah, so
it's not inaccurate.
Typically, whatever HBO has going, or Max, whatever they're called, Apple TV is great shit. And then, of course, like if I just find a movie I'm watching, I'll watch that. Right?
You're a real movie watcher.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of rewatching movies too. So,
Yeah.
I think the big thing is like if I'm alone on like a Sunday afternoon, I'll throw on like Oppenheimer or like Dune Part 2, like staples that I just like enjoy having on.
Randy, hit the Interstellar gong.
Interstellar.
Y'all.
Yeah, Interstellar. Those kind of a lot of Nolan, a lot of Villeneuve, a lot of just the popular movies, but that's something. Then of course, like just watching something at night, like it could be either a movie or completely non-committal bullshit TV. I don't really care.
How do you take your coffee?
Black.
Hot?
Depends.
Okay.
I've got an iced coffee in front of me now, but one of my favorite things on a Sunday is like taking the mornings really slow.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I don't overcomplicate things. I just do a French press. And having a French press in the mornings is like, I hate rushing my mornings. And so like being able to sit down and like chill and have a coffee and do like, honestly, like online shopping, Depop, like eBay, whatever it is. That is like my favorite thing.
How do you take your eggs?
I don't eat eggs.
There you go.
Yeah. I'm not a big egg guy.
Fine with that. I'm not either.
Yeah.
If I looked in your refrigerator right now, what would I find?
Just did a TJ's run. And so you would find a lot of veggies, cauliflower rice, cauliflower gnocchi, some chicken thighs that are defrosting for tonight.
Okay.
Let's see. I'm leaving town. So like that's about it. That's to get me through like Wednesday.
The modified empty fridge before.
Yeah.
I appreciate your want to not waste food, James.
Yeah.
I had a roommate who told me day one, he goes, I don't like wasting food. So okay.
Yeah.
Let's not waste any food then.
I have a question for you.
What?
Sunday night, what are you making?
So I don't do much of the cooking these days. Sally's really taken over. Man, she's all over the map. She's got a decent amount of go-to recipes, but she really likes just mixing things up. We've been doing we only did one. I'd like to think that we do more Sunday roasts than we do. We've only done one this year. Just doing like a pot roast or something. Honestly, on Sundays, a lot of the time we order out. We get pizza.
Yeah.
We it's a nice Sunday task to go like pick up the food and do it, and it just kind of makes not having to clean the kitchen on a Sunday night. I've learned has been a great thing.
It's really nice. Yeah,
we pretty much clean the kitchen every other night of the week, and so we always kind of need one night to not. And so if we can figure out a way to get out of the house, we usually do.
Totally.
Honestly, we've been going to Tex-Mex Sunday night.
That's been one thing too. My girlfriend and I, she primarily fosters, but we foster dogs. So going out and like walking the dog, and I used to have a dog. She passed. I missed that. And so like going out for like 20 minutes and walking through her neighborhood, not my neighborhood. My neighborhood's kind of get shifty, but and it's not like I live in the trenches or anything, but no, walking, just taking like phoneless walks is really nice. And that's something that
I just don't like having a phone. I take phoneless walks, but it's not because I'm getting away from my phone. It's because I just don't want my phone in my pocket when I'm walking.
So annoying.
It's like
it's so annoying. But yeah, no,
I could get on my high horse and be like, no, I just want to be like away from it.
Yeah,
for a little bit. No.
I think like that's.
I also like that it counts my steps.
I think like spending out like time outdoors. I think another thing for me is like as the weather gets nicer, I do a lot of yard work or try to do yard work or spend time outside or go to Barton, tan, that kind of thing. That's like important for me on a Sunday. That helps like kind of reset the equilibrium. Yeah.
Final question for you.
Yep.
Are you willing to tell us what your weekly screen time alert says every week?
I turned it off and I'm not even. I don't even look at it.
So it's bad.
It's bad. It's bad because I also have the thing that prevents my phone from turning off.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it doesn't time out and go to sleep. And so what I do is like I'll watch like YouTube or like have something playing while I'm doing shit.
Mm-hmm.
And so like it's just on.
You're making excuses, James.
Yeah.
You're making excuses.
I know. Regardless, it's not great. It's not great. And I'm not going to sit here being like, oh, like I'm great about my phone. No, like I spend way too much time on this thing, but
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Most people that I ask this to, they don't give me an actual answer.
Yeah. Perfect.
After I deleted Twitter from my phone a few weeks ago, I have
I've
reduced
done
about
that.
an hour a day on my phone. Like it's gone down an hour.
Wow.
And I'm very glad I did it because
You're not a TikTok guy though.
no.
No.
And part of the reason I'm not a TikTok guy is because when I get on TikTok, I get lost.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's 2 hours later and I'm like, what did I just do? I can't get it. I can't do it.
Yeah, I love TikTok, but I don't like. I only reserve that for like kind of like end of the day kind of situation.
I don't even have it on my phone right now.
Yeah.
But if I did, it's definitely reserved for no
Yeah.
one's around me. I have nothing to do, and I'm going to be as lazy as possible. And then I can
Valid.
queue it up.
Valid.
Well, James, thank you for not only joining the podcast today, but for spearheading the Scenes of Note Volume 1.
Dude,
it's been fun.
Yeah,
been
thanks
fun.
for having me, and I'm excited for Volume 2 and whatever else we do and cook up after that. And yeah.
Well, everybody else, we'll see you next week.